In today's video, we are going to be exploring my binder collection of the Scarlet and Violet era, as well as the Mega Evolution era. I kind of count them as the same era. So let's check out the binder, go through a bit of a tour, and I'll let you know what I'll be doing with the binder in the future. Now, about a year ago, I did a binder tour of my Sword and Shield binder, which was far more impressive than the Scarlet and Violet era binder that you're about to see. As you can see from the first page, it's a little bit empty, and we'll go over why. And the why is because getting product of Scarlet and Violet and Mega Evolution pretty much since 151 has been very difficult. So I have swapped between English and Japanese, and my collecting styles changed since then. And the reason I want to show you this binder today is because I'm going to be building it in a different way in the future, which I will probably do another video on later on. But for now, let's just explore some of my favorite cards in the binder. So we have a Magahita. This is a gym promo in Japanese, but in English it's one of our Mega Evolution promos in the blister pack, and I really love when the Pokemon is up close to the frame like this, where it really showcases the Pokemon, and it's a bit of a cheeky Magahita. Magahita? Is that how you say it? That's how I'm saying it. Anyway, there's another card coming out very similar to this with a Slowpoke, really up close to the frame of the camera. I love it. It's cool. Sometimes when the Pokemon's too far away in the artwork and it's mostly scenery, I'm not a big fan of. I don't mind it, but I just prefer that up close look. As you can see, Ditto is he's falling out of the pocket. So we're actually just gonna pull Ditto out. Actually, he's landed in the next pocket, which is great. How great is that? All right, please hold. So we have Ditto. This is probably my favorite shiny. I should have got the Pikachu. As you can see, we've got the Raichu here. Pikachu is so expensive now, and it was like $30 when it first came out. So sometimes sometimes if you want a card, you really need to strike it early and not wait too long. But lesson learned. Anyway, very cool Ditto card. I'm hoping that in the future, we've had a few shiny sets now, probably about 3 since Hidden Fates. I think it's time for them to sort of change up the way they do shinies. I think art rares being shiny, which they kind of dabbled with in this set, would be a really good way to go, but who knows, we'll have to wait a little while to see that. Drifloon is one of my favorite Pokemon, as well as Drifblim, so you might see them every now and then. Same with Raichu. We have a couple of art rares here, Cresselia and Milcery. I didn't really know what to do with them because they didn't fit the way that I was building the binder. I do love them, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them yet. You'll start to see that I've kind of color-coded, so we're back to that original page that we were looking at the beginning of the video. As you can see, I kind of kept them neutral colors to some degree, not super vibrant, all very same in the vibe that they have. And again, let's just pick out a couple of cards from this side, and then we'll explore that side. So on this side, the first thing you're probably going to notice is the Evolution card, which features all the Eevees before they've evolved into their evolution forms, which people believe there are little hints as to which one they're going to turn into. And this artwork is done by Narumi Sato, who's probably my top 5 favorite Pokemon artists. And it's just a beautiful card of them, chilling in a house, which is cool. I love it. Next up, we're going to go with Chansey. And whenever there are multiple Pokemon in the artwork, it's usually going to be very popular with the fans. So as you can see, we have Snorlax, we've got Blissey in the background, we've got a Bellsprout, Psyduck, and a Ditto again. So, if you're one of these collectors, if you collect Snorlax cards, you kind of almost want to add this card to your collection because there's a Snorlax in it. So into your Snorlax binder, if that's something that you do. And I think a lot of collectors do that. So yeah, it's just a cool, different way to collect is if you're trying to chase every card with the Pokemon in it. So there's a few Psyduck cards that, where Psyduck shows up but isn't the main card, like this is a Chansey card. So very cool. I love the art style of this. It's very basic. They're also in the Pokemon Center, which I always love a little bit of a reference to something from the games, which is really cool. And then we have something that's obviously not a reference to the games, right? Like a Sleepy Raichu. So this is very cool. It's very homey. He's just sleeping. And we'll show off one more card on this side. Now, this is the Magnemite from Shinji Kanda, a very popular artist in the TCG, where some of his cards have been very hyped up. This one was a promo for our Surging Sparks, I believe, in English. And as you can see, a lot of these cards are going to be Japanese, but he has a very chaotic sort of background and style to the way that he illustrates his drawings, which is just awesome. Very, very unique sort of style. So as I was saying, you'll see that a lot of these are in Japanese, and we'll now cross over to the other side. Now, the reason that a lot of these are in Japanese was because I switch between what's cheaper. So if Japanese cards are cheaper, I'm buying them. If English ends up being cheaper than Japanese, I'm buying English. Obviously, English has been ridiculous over the last couple of years, especially since 151, that the hype sort of hasn't chilled out yet, but it is getting there. With the release of Perfect Order, things are sort of getting back to hopefully a bit of a norm going forward, but we'll have to wait and see. So eventually at one stage I was collecting 12 art rares from each Japanese set, so I'd buy them straight up when they came out on eBay and then put them in the binder in that order of the set. I stopped doing that because it became way too hard, especially when Pokemon was like, oh, we're going to bring out a black and white set and do every single Pokemon in an art rare. So there's 200 Pokemon, if that, that all have art rares, and it's impossible to collect them all now. So Pokemon love to do that. They love to throw you off a little bit at some stage, which is why I think, as much as I love art rares, it's very important to remember that Pokemon can change things up at any point. So they could get rid of art rares, they could change the way that they are formatted, the way the card layout is. I don't think these are here to stay forever. I think they are very unique and cool, but I wouldn't be surprised if they changed it up again in at least a year or two. We'll have to wait and see. I could be wrong. But let's go over a couple more cards here. There's a lot of beautiful cards here. So let's start off with the Ghastly, and again, this is another one where there are Pokemon in the background and obviously relating to its evolution line. So you can see that there are Gengars and Haunters and more Ghastly. There's also a Meowth just down here in the bottom. So it's a cool little Easter egg when there are Pokemon hiding within the art rare, and sometimes you might miss it. You might not even realize that there is another Pokemon hiding in the art rare, which is really cool. So, anything with Kanto is obviously going to have a very solid fan base for that card. But I will point out something from, Scarlet and Violet. This is Ceruledge is 100%, I think, safe to say, my favorite Pokemon in the Scarlet and Violet era. It's very cool. A lot of people would compare it to Mega Man NT Warrior. Look that up if you're not familiar with it. You'll understand when you see the design of Ceruledge versus Mega Man. But this artwork is really, really awesome. Very popular. And the colors are awesome. The blue and the purples. It's really cool the way they blend together. So I won't go too much in depth with this page here. You can kind of see how it's looking. We'll cross over to... I haven't even got to the best stuff yet, but we'll get there. Don't worry. So you can see I started to keep, I don't know, there's a bit of a vibe going on here. Not as much as what you'll see in the next couple pages, but we'll talk about Swablu, which is really cool. So this is early Scarlet and Violet, and we have a Swablu surrounded by a Wingull sitting on a brick sort of fence type thing. And there's a Wingull down here as well. So again, it's just another one of those, when there are multiple Pokemon, it's just really fun to see. And here's another example of that with Marill riding on top of, I believe it's Grotle, is that the name of the Pokemon, I think. And there's a few more. There's a couple of Marill and a Starly in this one, which is awesome. And they're in a field. Then we'll talk about these three cards here. They're all connected with the same cloud, which is a clever thing from the artist that drew them. So there's a cloud in the background, and they're, all from different points of where they are. This one could be on the other side of the cloud for all we know. And then Executor over here. I mean, you could debate if this is the same cloud, but it looks pretty similar, just a lot further away. But clever idea where there's a sort of continuous story happening between the artists' different artworks, which is really, really cool. Let's cross over to a bit more of a vibrant page going on over here. It's a little bombastic with the colors, and you'll also see the sort of connecting cards, which we haven't really seen a lot of lately, although that's not true. We do have these two here, top and bottom, which is very cool. But I feel like we saw it a lot more earlier on in Scarlet and Violet with the Min and Plusle. I did that the other way around, but yeah, I'm gonna skip past this page. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's very cool the way these are connected until we get to the cool stuff. So now we have our blue page, which I'm not a big fan of, to be honest. I don't mind it, but not a lot going on here that I love. Other than the horsey, and again, it's just a bit of that Kanto love. It's a very cool artwork. And then we have the Snorunt, which has had a few cards now in an art rare form. But a very nice card. So this is an example of one that I do like, where the Pokemon's kind of far away and the scenery is more the highlight. So there are times when it really works. And moving on to our green page, let's go over a few cards. We have the Phoebus, which if you ever played Pokemon Emerald, you know just how hard it was to catch this Pokemon. Very rare, and I believe there's only like one spot that you could surf in which it would show up. So Phoebus is one of those underappreciated Pokemon, I think. And then we'll talk about one more card here. We have Pavilion by Rend. Now Rend is also in my top 5 favorite artists in the Pokemon TCG. They do a really good job at showcasing the Pokemon up close, like I told you I really enjoy. And this card actually belongs on the next page, which is going to happen when I rebuild it and create a Rend page. But let's cross over to that page now. Very moody page. So let's go over a few cards. We have the Houndoom, looking very Houndoom, looking very vicious, and I believe there's a few of them in the background, sort of their silhouette, which is very cool. And then we have the Duskull line done by James Turner, who worked for Game Freak. They have only just really recently started doing cards for the TCG, and they did this Pikachu from Mega Dream, which for some reason people thought this was AI generated when it first got revealed. But it's a very simplistic art style that James has, but it's awesome. I love it. And he seems to be focusing on a front-on sort of viewpoint of the Pokemon. And we'll cross on over to our Rend page. So as you can see, we get a very close-up look at the Pokemon. We have the ferret looking it's such a realistic feel to the Pokemon. It feels, lifelike, not as cartoony as some of the other, art rares that you might see. Especially if you compare this to the Chansey that I was showing you before, it's just such a different sort of art style compared to that. The Psyduck, which is that the same cloud that we saw earlier? Oh, debatable, who knows. And on our next page we have a sort of Team Rocket themed page from the Glory of Team Rocket in Japanese. So the Wobbuffet, these 3 cards here are definitely up there as some of my favorite art rares that have been released. The Mimikyu, you can never go wrong with Mimikyu. And Wobbuffet here, done by the illustrator Sabaturi, who's fairly new to the hobby. They did the first partner pack promos, which I do have a few in this binder and we'll go over. But this feels like it was ripped straight out of the anime. I love the art style and the vibe of the Team Rocket's layer. So awesome artwork. I love it, and I hope to see more from Sabaturi in the future. Following through onto the next page, we have a very cool Piplup. Always love to see a starter Pokemon with getting an art rare, and it'd be really cool if you'd be able to build a Pokedex with art rares. I don't think it's going to be possible if they change up the style sometime soon, but you can definitely do it with black and white, so that's cool. This is, speaking of black and white, this is actually another example of a card that's been done really well, where the Pokemon is not entirely the focus, but it's present, and it's straight and center in the middle of the card. The setting is really cool, and yeah, this is awesome. So Joltik is in an office space and looks like it's about to power up the lamp, so that's really cool. We have Zacian and Zamazenta, both in a very different style to one another, but nice to see the legendaries getting some love. And now we are on to my favorite section of the binder. So the best art rares, I think, are right here. We have 2 different types of Steelix cards from different sets. This one is absolutely the coolest. Look at that. It almost feels like a Rend artwork, but it is not done by Rend, surprisingly. And then you might notice I have a soft spot for Johto cards. This is Phampi, also done by Savateri, surrounded by Donphan. In a very subtle way too, with a cool sunset in the background. This next card might just be in my top 10 favorite art rares of all time. This is Porygon Z, and as you can see, it's in its trainer's bedroom, and it seems like the trainer's a very hardcore gamer with all the neon lights and the technology. This is a perfect setting for Porygon Z. The Marshadow and the cheeky Pikachu that makes a cameo in the card. This card, to be honest, probably wouldn't be as popular without the Pikachu in it, but because Pikachu's in it, obviously it's popular. So this was super hyped when it first came out. If you get this in Japanese, it's about a $10 card in Australian dollars. So it's pretty cheap. I would recommend picking it up if you really like it. This is also a callback to a card from Cosmic Eclipse, which is pretty much the exact same setting and same scene, just art rare version of it. And then moving on over, we have a bit of a starter kit, a Kanto starter kit. We have the Bulbasaur and Venusaur from Mega Evolution. Then we have the Squirtle and Wartortle from 151. So there's a lot of 151 on here. And showing you another one of my top 10 favorite art rares, this would be the Caterpie from 151. You can't go wrong with Caterpie. It's one of the first Pokemon you catch in the game when we started playing way back when. So the nostalgia is really strong in this card, and I love it. And then we have a Poliwhirl, which looks like it's in the middle of Tokyo in the rain, with all the lights, neon lights reflecting off it. Then we have the duo, which should be a trio. We have Bulbasaur and Squirtle, another Sabateri card. So he's popping up quite a bit in this binder, and I would keep an eye on his cards if you really like the artwork. So yes, this should be a trio. These are in Japanese. I purchased them when they first came out, and these were actually in our English set of, correct me if I'm wrong, Paradox Rift, and I never pulled them in English. Or Temporal Forces, one of the two. Either way, I'm really glad to have both of these in Japanese. I have the Charmander in English because that was our promo card in Obsidian Flames. And before I was interrupted by my camera overheating, I was talking about the Heracross art rare. So as I mentioned earlier, I love Johto. I love the Johto region. And this is top 10, again, favorite art rare, the Heracross. And it just feels like a summer's day. Like I get the feeling of a summer day looking at this. And for some reason, Heracross is hitchhiking. So yeah, beautiful artwork. So up next, we have my absolute favorite page in this binder. It's not complete yet, but it will be one day. If you want to sell me your Ethan's Makagos, I'll take them. They're so cheap. It's the most underrated art rare in recent times, and I don't understand it. I don't care if you don't like Makago as a Pokemon, okay? It's not my favorite Pokemon either, but this artwork is insanely cool. You've got Ethan, right? Ethan from Johto. Again, Johto. Love Johto. We don't see many cards where the Pokemon trainer from the video games shows up in the card game, right? Like we see it on occasion, but not like this. Not like this is next level. So the Ethan cards that have come out, I'm a big fan of. I'd love to pick up the Ho-Oh someday. I have Ethan's Adventure, the alternate art for that. I love that. It's not in this binder, but yeah, I want a full page of Ethan's Makago. This is the only English copy I have. The rest are all Japanese, but yeah, if you want to sell them to me, I'll take them. Then this is where the binder gets a little bit boring again. So there's not much going on here. There's nothing going on there. And then we land into where the binder gets a little more complex. So now we have English, Japanese, and Chinese cards. So I picked up some first partner packs in Chinese from the Hobby Hangout, and I really want to get my hands on all of the first partner cards, the art rares. And trying to get them in English is silly expensive, and you can't even find the first partner box to crack open. So I think going down the road of collecting the Chinese versions is probably a easier pathway to obtaining the cards, which is what I am trying to do. So I'm still quite a ways off from having them all. We have Charmander and Squirtle, which I will showcase both of them. I know some people have mixed feelings about the Chinese cards. They either love them or hate them. I don't mind them, especially if I can get, these particular cards that, everyone wants. So, yeah, I'm glad that there are other ways to get them. Japan hasn't released them yet, but I'm sure we'll see them towards the end of the year. It might be in our 30th anniversary set for Japan, so who knows. Either way, I still need the Bulbasaur. And I'll show you the other two that I have too. Mention as well, something I like, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to showcase this. So this is the Chimchar. And these are done by Saboteur as well, I should mention. So again, what a standout artist within the TCG. Something that's really cool about the Chinese cards. And I don't know why we don't do it, but anyway, I'll try and show it off to you. But if we zoom in, I might just take the card out. So you may not be able to see it, and I can't really zoom in much closer, but there is a Pokemon holographic logo in the very bottom left-hand corner of all Chinese cards. And it kind of seems to be like to prove that it's a legit card and not a fake one. So I think that'd be cool if even the English cards sort of implemented that idea into our translated cards. And then we have the Poplio card, also in Chinese. So as I mentioned, there's still a lot more to get, and hopefully I will at some stage. Moving on to another empty page. How good's that? I did manage to pick up one box of the first partner packs in English. So we have the Sun and Moon starters here with Rowlet, Litten, and Poplio. So, if I can get them in English at some point, I will. And I think having them in multiple different languages is quite cool. So maybe that's something I can have as a collecting goal. But yeah, so we do have them. They're quite cool. We're moving on to another boring page, except for the Greninja alternate art from Shrouded Fable. So that's pretty neat. It's in my binder for no other reason than I didn't know where to put it. And then we get into some more boring stuff. So we're probably going to move through this stuff a little bit faster because I don't love it as much as the earlier part of the binder. So we just have some common EXs here. And then we have some English art rares. So not a whole lot to show off. Although there is one really cool page. I pulled 2 of the Meowth cards, which is awesome. And this is another video game reference. So as you can see, this is based on, I think it's Cerulean City in the video game, where there's a sort of this area in the game, you can catch a Meowth, and I actually caught it. I was playing Leaf Green, and I went and visited that area of the game, so that was cool. I think cards like this are going to do really well with collectors, and you can see the Pokemon Center, and it's old school, video game style, so that's really neat. And then showing off one more on this page, I have to show off the Victini from Black and White, White Flare, Black Bolt. Top 10. Again, another top 10. And it's another card that, where the scenery is actually, it blends really well with the Pokemon. So it's not up close, and just another good example of when it's done really well. Crossing over to our next page, we will just cover Marnie's Morpeko, which you could only pick up in like a starter deck sort of situation. And we'll look at Steven's Beldum. Whenever there's a trainer with its Pokemon, I really, really enjoy that. And something I want to do with this binder, or any binders going forward, which is our next topic, is focus on the trainers, because I think trainers are kind of underappreciated, and people are like, do we really love trainers in the Pokemon TCG? But you could actually build a binder. So let's say we grab Ethan, put him on a binder page, and then build out his Pokemon team from whether it's the manga, the anime, the video games, whatever each character is known for having, you could build a page around, which is something I want to do going forward. So it's just a way to make these trainers a little more interesting, I think. And as you know, you got Morty's Gengar, Ethan's Pichu, you've got Jasmine and her Ampharos. So there are all these different ideas that you could do, and Giovanni as well. You could easily make a Giovanni page. And this, let's showcase this one, because this artwork annoys the absolute crap out of me, because that right there, I feel like there was a Pokeball or a Master Ball in his hand, and someone at Pokemon said, "Excuse me, artist, get rid of the Pokeball." And now it just looks like he's got this weird half clenched fist for no reason. So that's my Pokemon conspiracy theory, is that the person was told to get rid of the Master Ball that drew this. Crossing on over, we just have some simple full art cards. Let me know in the comments down below how you feel about cards like this, with the Pokemon and the trainer behind it in sort of silhouette style. I don't mind it. I think it's okay. I don't think that trend is... I think the trend's over now, to be honest. So we haven't seen that for a while, since Destined Rivals. Another beautifully boring page with the EXs. I'm actually really looking forward to... Let's just have a look at an EX for fun. Let's look at Meowth. So this is from Perfect Order, and I really wonder sometimes why Pokemon decide to go back to the EX format, because we've seen it in the past before. And, the Vs and the VMAX was a new gimmick, but for some reason, Pokemon decided to go back to an old gimmick, and I always think it's really cool. I mean, these cards are nice, there's nothing wrong with them. I just think it's cool to see a new gimmick. So I'm really hoping that, I think the EX era will be over soon. Going into Winds and Waves, when that game comes out, we'll probably see a whole new thing. So looking forward to that. Just a Victini up there. And then we get into our regular promos from blister packs and 3-packs. And back in the early days of, Sword and Shield, it was really easy to obtain all the promos. So I'm missing a lot of promos and haven't bothered to try and obtain all of them, because it's a bit of a mission. I will just cover a few things that I really like. So this Pikachu artwork is, I would say, one of my favorite common cards of a Pikachu. This is a holographic card. I actually can't remember where this came out of, but there's another version of this in holographic that celebrates the 30th anniversary, or Pokemon Day, I should say. This is just the regular holographic version of it, the foil. And then we have the 151 promos of the Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charmander. So these top 4 up there as my favorites. And yeah, I'm just not going to bother trying to complete them all. As much as I like Galaxy Foil cards, one of the other weird things I want to talk about is the build and battle boxes. So again, they were a lot easier to obtain in Sword and Shield, and now you can really only get them from actually going to pre-release events, which is what they were designed for. But, it was fun when you were able to just easily pick up a build and battle box. And one thing I want to talk about is I did go to a pre-release for Destined Rivals, and it's so weird how inconsistent Pokemon's been in the last couple of years with their, decisions and what they do. And this card here is literally like a cosmic foil, which you never see in Build and Battle promo pre-release kits. So you can see it might not come up very well, but this is a holographic foil card, and it's just very unusual. I don't know why they did that, and I do like it. I just find it weird. So anyway, that's my little rant about Pokemon. And yeah, we just have a lot of promo cards on here. So we have some Horizons from the anime series and Drifblim. And then on the final page, it's just a few more promos. So yeah, that's pretty much the binder. Thank you guys so much for watching this binder tour. I will probably do another one in the future where I've changed it up and built it the way that I said I was going to with the trainers, and kind of come up with a bit of a new style to building a binder, which I don't see often. Like, I don't really see many people focusing on the trainers. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll showcase it at some stage. But really appreciate your time. Let me know if there's anything in this binder that you're looking to add to your collection, and I'll see you in the next one.